Hey, so today's topic is something that I haven't really covered before, but I think it's quite an interesting point of debate, or subject for debate. So I've just been watching this film Zulu from 1964. It's a classic film. It's a film that's generally highly regarded, and I can understand why. I think it's a pretty good film. Anyway, I'm watching the extras right now, like literally right now, and one of the things that was raised is something that got me thinking that this would be a good subject for a video, and it is the subject of artistic license of films. Now, I'm not talking about some of the inaccuracies in the film, like the wider inaccuracies, because pretty much every historical film has some inaccuracies. I cannot think of a single historical film that is 100% accurate. Almost every historical film, I would have thought, has some artistic license. If you don't know what the term means, it basically means when a director or a producer, let's say, bends the facts a little bit, or even sometimes completely invents things in order to give a more cinematic effect. And artistic license implies that as an artist, as a creative person, they sort of have a green light to do that. Hello? Hi Chris, I'm right in the middle of making a video. Can you phone me back in 5 minutes, please? It doesn't matter, I'm right in the middle of it, Christian. And all my viewers can see me holding the phone. I'll tell you in 10 minutes, just can you phone me back, please? Sorry about that. You know, I couldn't be bothered to stop the video and start over again, so yeah, ignore that. I'm laughing because it's just right. Okay. So in the extras, they're discussing, for example, the roles and the characters and so on. I don't want to talk about the wider issues, but I want to talk about one aspect of artistic license which does bug me. This is just as an example, but I'm going to talk about the wider subject. In the film, there's a person called Henry Hook. I believe he was a private during the Battle of Rorke's Drift. If you don't know the film Zulu, it's set during the Anglo-Zulu War of 1879, which was a brief but bloody conflict between the British Empire and the Zulu Kingdom in South Africa. Anyway, this man Henry Hook was one of a number of Victoria Cross recipients during the Battle of Rorke's Drift. This was a sort of Pyrrhic victory for the British. They were heavily outnumbered by Zulus, and there was some incredible courage during the day on both sides, of course, but there were many VCs awarded that day. I think more than at any other engagement in British military history. So it's a well-known battle. Yeah, Private Henry Hook. So in the film, he's sort of portrayed as a bit of an Oliver Reed type character. He's a bit of a ruffian, a bit of a drinker, a bit of a rebel, and he's described by senior officers as a thief, a coward, and an insubordinate barrack room lawyer. So in other words, he's cast in quite a negative light, although it sort of shows in the film that he reforms his character during the battle. Well, apparently his ancestors were very angry about this, because they say that actually he was a teetotaler and a model soldier, and historical records show that. So it wasn't a case that during the battle he suddenly reformed. He was a model soldier before the battle. And this makes me think about this sometimes the sort of character assassinations that directors will not hesitate to do. In this case, the director was Cy Enfield, and the producer was Stanley Baker. Another example of this was the depiction of Officer Murdoch on the Titanic. In the big James Cameron film, he's depicted as shooting a passenger and then shooting himself. Now, there's conflicting reports about what exactly happened. Apparently, an officer did shoot himself on the Titanic as it was going down, but there's conflicting reports as to who. there's a few things I want to acknowledge. Firstly, I appreciate that the job of a film director is very, very pressurizing. They have a lot to think about, and it is a very, very pressurizing position to be in. If you're making a big epic film, you have a million different things to think about. And also, I've no problem with a historical film bending the truth somewhat regarding events. For example, maybe changing some choreography of the battle or something like that. I don't have a problem with that because I appreciate that films are not meant to be documentaries. They're not meant to be historical documentaries. They're meant to be, let's face it, partially for entertainment, to be impressive, to be visually stunning, and so on, to get you thinking. So it would be unrealistic to expect film directors to act like documentarians and sort of portray their films absolutely factual. But what does bother me is if somebody's character is assassinated and that person can't do anything about it because maybe they're dead, or maybe, it's different if it's a very famous person like Alexander the Great or King Henry VIII or something like that. But when it's a relatively unknown figure, or someone who's not that famous, and they're portrayed in a film in a negative light, and maybe in real life they were the exact opposite, I think that is just low of any director to do that, because basically what they're thinking of is profit over someone's reputation, and I think it's fairly despicable. If I was a director, would I bend history? I probably would, yeah. But one thing I would stop short of is assassinating someone's character. So in my opinion, what the director should have done there was either keep the character of Private Hook as accurate as possible, as he done with the other people, and then if he wants to have the dramatic effect, then throw in a made-up character for that role. Why pin it on a real person? That really bugs me, actually. Not just from this, but just generally speaking, because the only people that can defend someone's character is the relatives, and they're going up against a powerful film director. This isn't just about Zulu; it's a general bone I have to pick about this. I just think it's very, very unfair to destroy someone's reputation, even if viewers aren't going to go away and think, "Oh, that's a horrible person." It's still, if they're known the history for a certain reason and then they're portrayed in film, even if people don't necessarily believe it, it basically does amount to a character assassination. And regarding famous people, I think you need to research it very meticulously if you're going to present someone in a negative light. So let me know your thoughts. Do you think it is acceptable for directors to completely distort someone's character for their own, for basically selfish ends, to try and get their film to sell? Or do you think they should be absolutely loyal to what someone's character really was like? Let me know your thoughts. Thank you.